Werribee in Melbourne's southwest, it's been a safe Victorian Labor seat for over 40 years. To Labor's true believers,
this is me, I'm John for Labor. Yep.
This weekend's by-election is a foregone conclusion.
Werribee's been a very strong Labor stronghold. I believe it will see the return of a Labor candidate and stay within the Labor government.
I don't see that we need to make a change in this area.
But to others, the outcome is far from guaranteed.
I think Werribee's very much in play.
I believe that we can win. It's a very big mountain to climb. I don't underestimate it. We're clearly the underdog. It's a big margin, but there are a lot of very angry people out there at the moment.
Voters here are being asked to give a performance review of the current state Labor government and of Werribee's outgoing high-profile local member, former Treasurer Tim Pallas.
We want to see better infrastructure around this area. It's terrible.
Our statewide polling is showing that there's a big swing on, and at by-elections that tends to be amplified simply because there's this sort of consequence-free opportunity for locals to vote and send a message to the government that they're not happy.
I'm John Listy, a local Labor candidate. Lovely to meet you.
Hello sir, how are you going?
It will take an almost 11% swing against the ALP to flip this Labor heartland for the coalition.
Look, I never take anything for granted here in Werribee. The two key issues that I get on nearly every door I knock on are cost of living and local congestion on our roads.
I mean, we need a 10.9% swing, which is big in anyone's terms, but, you know, anything's possible.
I think people have gone a bit breathless about the Werribee by-election, in my view. I think it's likely that the state government will certainly get some swing against it because that's what happens in by-elections.
In January, polling by Resolve Political Monitor sent a shudder through Labor strategists in Victoria. It showed the ALP's primary vote had dropped to 22% since April 2023, while the coalition's had risen to 42%.
There's this growing idea when we speak to voters that Labor at a state level, at the very least, have become a tired government. They're distracted from the big issues like the economy, the cost of living, housing, crime and transport.
By-elections don't usually attract national attention, but with a federal election looming, Liberals in Canberra are looking to gauge the appetite for change in Victoria.
Well, from the Prime Minister to the Premier, Labor has failed Victorians and overseen the decay of the once great state of Victoria.
Victorian Liberal Senator Sarah Henderson thinks Victoria's state government is unpopular, and that will also be a factor in the upcoming national poll.
The Labor Party, both federally and under Victorian Labor, has taken the people of Melbourne's West for granted for far too long.
I don't think state by-elections have much of a bearing on federal general elections. So I think that's my understanding through my experience in watching elections for the last 30 plus years.
According to Resolve's January poll, after almost 3 years running the country, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's popularity in Victoria has almost halved, while the opposition leader's Peter Dutton has more than doubled.
More and more Australians are warming to him because he has the goods. He will make a fantastic Prime Minister.
Peter Dutton is as popular as smallpox in Victoria. I don't believe Peter Dutton's message or his rhetoric is resonating with Victorians, including in Melbourne's West. Now that's my understanding after 2 decades as a federal member in that area. I think I know something about it.
Brendan O'Connor is retiring as the Labor member for Gorton in Melbourne's West. He's been a minister in the Rudd, Gillard and Albanese governments.
This proposition that there's a huge swathe of Labor-held seats that are all vulnerable to loss, I think is a fairy tale invented by the Liberal Party.
Victoria's could be termed an anchor state for federal Labor, but what we're finding now is that anchor for Labor in Victoria is starting to slip along the seabed a little bit. And we're getting a sort of 6-point swing there at the moment.
In the upcoming federal election, there are a number of seats that we are working very, very hard to win. Seats like Corangamite, seats like Hawke and Dunkley and McEwen and Aston, of course Kooyong.
There will be 38 Victorian seats up for grabs at the next federal election. Labor currently holds 24, the Liberal Nationals have 10. Pollsters estimate the coalition will need to flip 6 Labor or Teal independent seats to help them win government, and these are some of the seats in play.
I really think that we are in the race, and I really think these seats are obviously going to be very, very important for a Liberal victory.
We'll see Labor returned in those federal seats. I think the speculation that I've seen, which has been mainly fed out by the Liberal Party and some pollsters, I accept that, I think are off the mark.
The Labor Party really only need to lose a couple of seats before they lose majority government and are put into minority. That can easily happen in Victoria right now, just that one state.
The stage has already been set in Victoria.
The next Prime Minister of Australia, Peter Dutton. Thank you.
Peter Dutton unofficially launched his election campaign in January from the marginal electorate of Chisholm.
The Liberal Party at a state and federal level is back in town.
We have a lot of work ahead of us, and of course in Victoria every vote will count in every seat.
Both leaders were front and centre in Melbourne last weekend for Lunar New Year celebrations in the marginal Liberal seat of Menzies. In the final months of Anthony Albanese's first government, a date for the national poll is yet to be announced, a date the Labor brand in Victoria will be put to the test.
I do believe the Albanese government will be returned by a majority. It won't be, it'll be a tough fight and take nothing for granted.
Well, I am hoping for a victory, simple as that, because we need to get Australia back on track.